to you everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this edition of AM Today. I am Sunday Kolawole and with me is Alex. How are you, Alex?
I'm
Good
fine,
morning.
Sunday. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. It's always a pleasure having you joining us on AM today. And today we have very interesting lineup to dish out to you this morning. Just stay as we take you through. Good morning.
All right, let's start with the check of stories making headlines in national dailies. The Nigerian Tribune is first port of call this morning. And this story will be the first. One third of Nigeria's workforce will no longer pay tax from 2026. That's come from Oye Daily. Let's check a few paragraphs from the story. The federal government has unveiled plans to exempt about one third of Nigeria's workforce across both the public and private sectors from paying personal income tax in what officials describe as a major shift towards a fairer and more inclusive tax system. Under the proposed reforms, low-income earners earning 100,000 naira or less per month will no longer be required to pay personal income tax from January next year. This move is expected to boost workers' take-home pay, strengthen household purchasing power, and help ease the rising cost of living pressures faced by millions of Nigerians. Chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, said the exemption would affect roughly one in every three workers nationwide, marking a decisive break from what he described as a long-standing practice of taxing poverty. These are Nigerians who are barely surviving, yet we will tax them, Oyedele said while speaking with journalists in Lagos at the weekend. Instead of taxing people who cannot meet their basic needs, we should be supporting them. Oyedele explained that the policy forms part of a broader overhaul of Nigeria's tax framework, much of which he said dates back to colonial era legislation that no longer reflects modern economic realities. According to him, many of the countries that originally introduced such tax systems have moved on from the system. Check details of this story from the Nigerian Tribune newspaper of this morning. One third of Nigerian workforce will no longer pay tax as from 2026.
And on my part this morning, the first point of call is coming from the Nation newspaper and coming directly from the presidency. Presidency to opposition, stop undermining national institutions, face the law. With the rider dismisses claim of EFCC weaponization, insists agency independent and accountable only to the law, says defections to APC are voluntary, driven by Tinubu's reform, not coercion. The presidency has cautioned opposition politicians to desist from action capable of undermining Nigeria's democratic and anti-corruption institutions, accusing them of engaging in subterfuge and scapegoating and politicization of accountability in a bid to escape scrutiny. In a strongly worded statement issued on Sunday by the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Mr. Bayo Ononuga, the presidency cautioned the attempt to discredit national institutions for cheap political gains would not distract the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu from enforcing the rule of law. The statement was a response to claims by a group of opposition figures who alleged that Nigeria's multi-party democracy was under threat following the defection of prominent politicians to the ruling All Progressive Congress (APC), dismissing the allegation. The presidency said such claims ignored constitutional guarantees, noting that our constitution guarantees freedom of association and afford our people the right to change their political leaning at any time of their choosing. The details report you find in the Nation newspaper.
All right, let me quickly check the Punch newspaper this morning. This story reads, car imports rebound, hit 1 trillion naira in 9 months. Some paragraphs there. Nigeria's importation of passenger motor cars rebounded strongly in 2025 as relative stability in the foreign exchange market eased pressure on dealers and buyers, according to foreign trade statistics from the National Bureau of Statistics. Data from the Bureau showed that the value of passenger motor car imports rose to 1.01 trillion naira in the first 9 months of 2025, compared with 894.09 billion naira recorded in This represents an increase of 113.15 billion naira, or 12.66% year-on-year, signaling a clear turnaround after months of weak demand driven by currency volatility and rising landing costs. A closer examination of the quarterly figures shows that the recovery gathered momentum only in the second half of the year. Details in the Punch newspaper of this week.
ECOWAS to establish joint counter-terrorism force to tackle terrorism insecurity. With the riders appoint Dangote Pioneer Business Council Chair. The Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, is set to establish a joint counter-terrorism force as part of renewed efforts to confront the growing threat of violent extremism across the sub-region. The chairman of the ECOWAS Authority of Head of States and Government and President of Sierra Leone, Julius Madabao, disclosed this on Sunday while addressing the 68th Ordinary Session of the ECOWAS Authority of Head of State and Government head at the banquet hall of the State House, Abuja. President Bao expressed deep concern over the activities of multiple terror groups operating across West Africa, warning that they continue to exploit the fragility of the region's border to carry out cross-border attacks and destabilize member states. According to him, the proposed joint security force is aimed at strengthening collective defense mechanism and enhancing coordinated responses among ECOWAS countries in the fight against terrorism. And for details, you may want to check the Nation newspaper.
And back to the Nigerian Tribune. Will resolve indiscriminate dumping of refuse in Ibadan soon. That's coming from Governor Makinde, the governor for your state, assuring people of the state that indiscriminate dumping of refuse in Ibadan metropolis will soon become a thing of the past. The governor gave the assurance on Saturday while speaking at the wedding ceremony of Osrc, the daughter of the chairman of your State Advisory Council, Chief Bolaji Ayorinde, and Oladipo Michael Osadipe, son of a member of the House of Representatives, Honorable Tolu Sadipe, at the Cathedral of St. James the Great, Okebola, Ibadan. He revealed that his administration has been dealing with the challenge of indiscriminate refuse dumping since inception, assuring residents of the state that a lasting solution address the menace will soon be preferred. While congratulating the couple and their parents, the governor described their togetherness as a proof that politics is a game, and as supporters not to die for any politician. That's a very profound advice there. The supporters would almost cut off each other's leg wherever they are. Then the key players will be exchanging their children in marital arrangements. In fact, they do businesses together.
Absolutely.
You also find them partying together. In fact, you'll be shocked when you see them pat each other's back and then they're just enjoying themselves. For them, it's a game.
It's a game,
just
absolutely.
like you play your PS4, PS5. But then many other supporters will just see it as no, once I'm with this person, other people must just get out. I think it's a huge lesson.
It's a huge lesson. As a matter of fact, in the political landscape, there is no political enemy. It's just that you may be having issue with trying to converge interests, but the moment interests align, you become the ally.
In fact,
irrespective of what has happened in the past.
Adams Oshomole, when he was national chairman of the APC, was thrown somehow when he did say, come to my party and your sins will be forgiven. That tells you that it's a question of interest. Once the interests align, everything is sorted. And so it's funny. The same thing goes to when people pitch a tent and say, this is my leader, that other one is not my leader. But you find these two people you are trying to put problems in between them. They are together on the same table.
Absolutely.
Closing clues. What do you just say? I think it's very instructive.
I agree with you. And coming from the Nation newspaper, REP moves to reduce time for election litigation, set Tuesday for consideration of bill. The new Electoral Act has proposed a reduction of the period of election petition from 180 days to 150 days, while for closing agitations that election petitions be disposed of before swearing in of elected officials. The new law, which is scheduled to be considered by the House of Representatives at the plenary on Tuesday, also suggests that election petitions be filed 21 days after the declaration of not election results, while judgment is to be delivered 150 days to the date of the filing the petition. It also moved to prevent frivolous petition by imposing heavy fine on counsel and their clients who challenge the outcome of election outside the stipulated ground for challenging election result. For details of that report, so to say, you check the Nation newspaper.
You want us to challenge the results. Well, still taking some more stories this morning in the Nigerian Tribune. You also find a story: corruption. FG developing AI platform targeting hidden wealth asset verification. That's coming from the chairman of the CCB. The federal government is currently developing an advanced artificial intelligence AI platform aimed at combating corruption by instantly verifying the assets of public servants and flagging unexplained wealth. Chairman of the Code of Conduct Bureau, Dr. Abubakar Bello, revealed that the Bureau is at an advanced stage of developing a fully online asset declaration platform expected to be ready by the first quarter of 2026. According to him in an interview, the AI platform will allow public servants to declare their assets from anywhere in the world, replacing the manual system which only addressed the problem of availability, not deep verification. The new platform will be linked to essential national databases, including the Corporate Affairs Commission (CAC), the Federal Inland Revenue Service (FRS), the Bank Verification Number (BVN) system, land registries, and all that relevant government records. Bello hailed the digital system as a game changer because it will be directly linked with key government databases for instant verification. Furthermore, artificial intelligence will be deployed to analyze the declarations. The AI platform is designed to compare a public servant's net worth at the beginning and end of their tenure, and will automatically flag instances of unexplained wealth or possible breaches of the Code of Conduct. For further review, the details is in the Nigerian Tribune newspaper.
Another Accord Party Guba candidate emerges in Osun 2026 race after Adeleke. The Fourth Accord Osun State elected Bami Bola as the fractional candidate during a primary held at Regina Suit, Oshogbo. Bamigele emerged through a voice voted conducted by the delegates, after which the chairman of the party committee, Honorable Olufemi Ogundare, declared him the party's candidate for the 2026 Osun State governorship election. If you are interested in the details, you may need to check the Nation newspaper.
So the last might not have been heard about the political permutation, calibration, movement here and there in Osun State. Interesting is
and to me, I think another litigation is coming, is on the way it's going, because coming now to produce a fractional candidate now from another part, from a fractional version of the party, it only tells us that there will definitely be fireworks of litigation in the aftermath.
Well, let's keep our fingers crossed and see how things play out in the Osun governorship election. FRC confirms 4 dead in Kogi accident. Sad story there. The Federal Road Safety Corps (FRC) has confirmed the death of 4 persons in Rashly motor accident which occurred on Sunday on Lokoja Jakuta Road in Kogi State. The State Sector Commander of FRC, Mr. Tenimo Ituku, disclosed this to the newsmen, said 700 persons sustained varying degrees of injuries in the accident. He said the accident, which involved an 18-seater Toyota commercial bus, occurred at Shimbe community on Ayopita Lokoja Road in the local government. Ituku said the injured victims of the accident were rescued by FRC personnel, who also took them to the Kogi State Specialist Hospital for treatment, while corpses of the dead 4 persons were deposited at the morgue of the same hospital. Giving further details, the two who said the 18-seater bus with the registration number was heading to Abuja from Enugu for the said incident. He cautioned drivers against excessive speed, urging motorists to always be mindful of the motoring environment, which may be free but not safe. Check the details you find in the Nigerian Tribune. Very sad.
Atiku, Obi, Mark Oyegun to Tinubu, Nigeria must not become one-party state. Senior opposition leaders have issued a strong warning to President Bola Tinubu, accusing his administration of presiding over a gradual drift towards one-party state and using state institutions to intimidate political opponents ahead of the 2027 general election. In a joint statement, the leaders expressed concern that Nigeria's anti-corruption and security agencies are increasingly being viewed by the public as instruments of selective justice rather than independent institutions committed to the rule of law. The statement was jointly signed by the former Senate President David Mark, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, Labour Party's 2023 presidential candidate Peter Obi, former PDP Deputy National Chairman Chief Bode George, former APC National Chairman Chief John Odigo Oyegun, and Malam Lawal Batagwara. We are compelled by duty to a nation and conscience to allow our compatriots and the international community to the unfortunate and global gradual slide of our country into a state where key national institutions are increasingly perceived as tools for political intimidation, selective justice, and systemic prosecution of opposition leaders, they say. If you are interested in the details, the Vanguard newspaper has it this morning.
All right, still taking stories this morning. Let's move to another arena. In the Nigerian Tribune this morning, you find the story: 2026 budget. Governor Namadi earmarks 1 billion naira for Kudu Government College projects. The Jigawa State Governor Malam Umar Namadi has disclosed that the state government has allocated 1 billion naira in the proposed 2026 budget for capital-intensive projects and other development works at Government College Kudu. The governor made this known in a speech at the 2025 annual general meeting of the Kudu Government College Old Boys Association held at the college premises. Governor Namadi was represented at the event by the Secretary to the State Government, Malam Bala Ibrahim, assured stakeholders of the government's commitment to addressing the needs and requests presented for the improvement of the school. Details in the Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning.
Okay, we take this story relating to diplomatic relations. Alleged Christian genocide, U.S., Nigeria close to finalizing strategic framework on insecurity, really more. The United States Congress really more has said its country and Nigeria were near a significant milestone in the fight against terrorism in Nigeria, with an agreement on a strategic security framework being finalized. In a post on X yesterday, Moore said the proposed framework will focus on combating extremist groups operating in the northeast and the Middle Belt region of the country and ending the genocide against Christians. His comment followed a fact-finding mission to Nigeria where he witnessed firsthand the devastating impact of violent extremism on the civilian population in Benue and Plateau State. Moore, who led the delegation of U.S. Congress to the fact-finding mission, met with the Nigerian government officials, including the National Security Advisor, Nuru Ribadu, and the Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi. He also met with some religious and traditional leaders in Benue and Plateau State, as well as the Benue State Governor. Expressing optimism about the progress made in their discussion with the Nigeria authority, Moore said, we did have a positive conversation with Nigerian government, and I believe we are close to a strategic security framework to address both the ISS and Boko Haram threat in the northeast, as well as the genocide against Christians by the radical Fulani Muslims in the Middle Belt. The Vanguard newspaper has the details.
All right, finally from here, General Yakubu Gowon is alive in good health. That's coming from an age. Mr. Adeyeye Ajayi, personal assistant to the former military head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, retired, has debunked the former Nigerian leader's rumored death, declaring it as fake news. Some details you find in the Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning. So Yakubu Gowon is alive. News arrived yesterday. Many people just rushing to break the rumored death, but you find confirmation that no, Yakubu Gowon is alive. All right, thank you so much, everyone. Check details of those stories from the Nigerian Tribune, the Punch newspaper, the Nation newspaper, and some others that we've thought this morning. We'll take a break. When we return, around top creations. Stay with us.
Across Africa. Her name is Fumilayo Ransom Kuti, a teacher, activist, feminist, nationalist, and mother to legends. But before the fame, there was fire. Born on October 25, 1900 in Abeokuta, present-day Ogun State, Nigeria. Fumilayo was born Frances Abigail Olufumilayo Thomas. She came from a family that valued education, and in 1914, she became the first female student at Abeokuta Grammar School. Determined and brilliant, she later traveled to England for further studies, a rare feat for a Nigerian woman at that time. There, she trained as a teacher, absorbing ideas of equality and freedom that would shape her life's mission. On returning to Nigeria in the 1920s, she married Reverend Israel Ransom Kuti, a clergyman and educator. Together, they worked to uplift their community through education. But Fumilayo was not content with just teaching. She saw how colonial rule and traditional structures oppressed Nigerian women, and she decided to act. In 1947, she founded the Abeokuta Women's Union, one of Africa's most powerful grassroots women movements. The group fought against unfair taxation and the corrupt practices of the Alake, the traditional ruler of Abeokuta. Thousands of women led by Fumilayo marched in protest. They sang, they chanted, they occupied. 3. She became the first Nigerian woman to visit the Soviet Union, a move that earned her the label communist sympathizer by British authorities. But she wasn't deterred. In fact, she was emboldened. In her later years, she focused on broader issues: education, voting rights, women participation in politics. She advocated for the inclusion of women in leadership and injuries. And on April 13th, 1978, she passed away. Fumilayo Ransom Kuti was more than a mother, more than a teacher. She was a symbol of courage, of resistance, of dignity. She paved the path so Nigerian women could walk tall, speak freely, and fight for justice. Her legacy lives in every classroom, every protest, every woman who dares to say enough is enough. This was the story of Fumilayo Ransom Kuti, the lioness of listening, a voice that cannot be silenced, a spirit that lives on.
For joining us on today. It's good to have you. It's been a very long time.
Sure, that's something.
Well, I think we start with your party, the APC, because when we talk about party unity, and then I'm talking about any other party, right, not be your business. Let's start with your party, which is on kettle of fish. What is the state of health of your progressive congress APC? Let's start from home. The state charity business out of Ondo State. What is the state of health of the APC in Ondo State, especially in the light of the clandestine struggle for leadership in the state?
Well, I think that we are in good shape. The party is good. We had the Labour Party dead. We had
So there's Labour Party.
we had the Labour Party.
There's still a party called Labour Party.
It's just by name. The Labour Party is dead. We have a PDP, the public relations officer, former publicity secretary of the party, said this is in the ICU. That's Benetton said the PDP is in the ICU, and he had to leave. You understand? So the PDP is dead. ADC is neither here nor there in our state. So there is only one living and active party in the state, that is the ADC. I was in the hall on Friday, and I saw everyone who was of the PDP, who was of the Labour Party, and it was exciting.
Because there's
Dr.
something to
Ademu
share.
Jimmy, I saw Dr. Ademu Jimmy, I saw a number of people.
No, give me because there's still something to share, right?
Not really.
Because your party is in power.
Not really, because through internal crisis, intra-party struggle, and troubles, they've killed, the other parties have killed themselves.
Figuratively speaking.
Yeah, they killed themselves. You have, the PDP is non-existent, a party that does not even, we don't even know which is the national leadership. At the state level, I don't think they have the state leadership. And you have the officers of the party. Those are the formal leadership. Of course, there is also the informal leadership of the party, which is indeed the real effective leadership of the party. That is the people holding the executive authority, either at the national or at the state level. At the national level, it is the president. So the president, even though we have a national chairman, is the leader of the party. And most of the times, that national chairman is elected or appointed by the chairman, or through the the president. And this is not strange. Even in the best of democracy, West, it doesn't. And that's why you hear about even the Republican Party as Trump's Republican Party. Once the man becomes president, he leads. As a matter of fact, in those democracies, the president appoints the chairman. So, at this level, once Governor Lucky Ayedatiwa got elected on the platform of the party, he becomes the political leader of the party. There is a chairman, there is a state working committee, there is a, and most of the time he directs, or that leader directs what happens at the party. So there is no problem. And nobody in this state, I am sure, nobody in this state is struggling for leadership of the party with what
If there's nobody struggling,
I am, by the grace of God, a member of the National Working Committee. And by virtue of my being the chairman of the Southwest Geopolitical Zone of the party, National Vice Chairman Southwest / Chairman Southwest of the party, I still don't lead him. He is the leader and the highest party office holder. I don't lead him. He is my leader. He respects me.
Dr. Gary, let's look at it this way. When the head needs to tell the neck that I'm the head, then there's a problem.
That is
What exactly is precipitating this need for affirmation, reaffirmation of leadership of the party now and then? You are a strong leader in the party. We know that. So you will know the goings on with your party. What is causing this issue of leadership tussle?
There is no lead, and that's what I'm saying. There
There's
is
no
no
leadership
leadership tussle.
Then where comes the issue of
I came to say what I said because, like I said, I had some murmurings. They were murmurings, and we needed probably to just say, to kill it. Otherwise, there is no struggle. The national leadership of the party knows the leader of the party in the state, and as far as we are concerned, all the governors are the leaders of the party. There are differences. There are quite a number of cases yesterday. I was thinking about it yesterday. For instance, the president is the leader of the party in this country. And when people say I'm the leader of the party in Southwest, I say, don't put me in trouble. I'm not the leader of the party in the Southwest. The president, who is from the Southwest, is the leader of this party in the Southwest. There is also a peculiar problem in Lagos. The president haven't come from Lagos. I'm being the president of Nigeria. I'm being the president of the party in Nigeria, president of the party in the Southwest. He's also the president of the party in Lagos. Because there's a higher executive authority both in the Southwest and in Lagos. So, executive authority, when a man wins on the platform of the party as chief executive, he becomes the political leader of the party.
Okay, Honorable Doctor, let's move beyond that now.
But I don't want us to waste our time about it because there's no question about it because it's not in dispute.
There's issue that may emanate as a result of primaries and stuff like that. How effective is the conflict resolution mechanism put in place? Possibly to avoid issue of litigation.
The truth
that
of the
might
matter
damage
is
the
that
chances of the party.
there is even no conflict here.
Is that possible?
There's no conflict.
Because
What happens is that because it is politics, there are people with aspirations. It doesn't destroy the party. In this state, as at today, the only legitimate aspiration that you can have is to say, I want to go to the Senate, maybe in a year's time, by next year when the primaries are being organized. I want to go to the House of Assembly. I want to go to the House of Representatives. These are the offices that are available. So, and I don't see people fighting over all of that. Of course, they can disagree. This is normal. But the party at the national level will soon release guidelines for people who want to participate. And the first important thing as far as our party is concerned is what we call digital registration, electronic registration. We want to identify who our party members are. And and that we want to do this digitally. So have an accurate number of people who belong to this party. We want to know who the financial members of this party are. After knowing that, sometimes by the end of January, we will have an idea, digitally and electronically, who the members of this party are throughout Nigeria.
But the NNPP in Ondo State believes there's a desperate move to harvest members from the opposition.
No, it's not. It has nothing to do with the opposition. That's why we are not just writing names. That's why we are saying that, look, if you want to belong to our party, take time off, register, play electronically. If you want to belong to our party, pay your party dues. How does that mean desperately getting people? It shows that we are not desperate. It shows that we want to really know. We are tired of saying we have 200 million people in the party, and when the election comes, we score 12 million, 10 million. It means, so to be able to do things properly, we want to start with the party. And so this is what is going to happen. After that has been done, then the guidelines will be released. Then party members, financial party members, will then either participate in the primary to vote or to be voted for. So all of this is going to come in the first quarter of next year. So I don't know what the struggle is.
Okay.
If it is the office of governor, Governor Edatu has not even spent a year.
Of course.
And he has 4 years. So nobody should be talking about that. It's not, nobody should be talking about that.
Positions of old existing members. So at the national level, how would the leadership of APC handle this in all fairness?
It's a tough thing.
Okay.
It's a tough thing because there are natural consequences of every action and inaction. I've just spoken about the fact that the governor is a leader, political leader of the party. Now, first, I believe that we need to have a strong opposition. Unfortunately, like the president said, we cannot help the opposition to organize itself. I would wish that we have a viral PDP, Labour Party, ADC in Nigeria and in these states to challenge us. I mean, that's opposition is a critical key element of any democratic governance. I don't believe in one party state. I believe in multi-party. So it saddens me that these people are not able to organize themselves. But unfortunately, it's not my job to help them organize themselves to be able to be strong enough to fight or compete with me. So that is their trouble. We can only tell them that it would be nice if they can put themselves together so that we don't lose this key and critical element of democracy. Because a viral and strong opposition is key. Now, second, the governors are coming for two reasons.
Sorry, maybe that job should be for the Mr. President to create a platform where everybody
To strengthen people to come and run against him.
not
No, that cannot be his job. That cannot be his job.
Okay.
How will you
To
expect
some
me?
extent, because in the case of okay, maybe we should leave that.
No, let's discuss it. Why? How is it his job?
Let's look at it this way. There
Yeah.
are allegations.
Yeah.
And in fact, former president of the Senate, then former vice president, they signed a joint statement, and it was out just this morning, and accusing the APC of weaponizing institutions of the state, such as the EFCC, to intimidate opposition figures to bow to pressure to come to your camp.
Okay, let me give you this example. I may be wrong, but let me just say this from my own personal knowledge. But let me say this. The people, the governor of Plateau wants to come in, and you see a lot of APC members saying that we don't want you. In Osun, Adeleke thought about coming. But you see APC people saying, no, we don't want you. Do you understand? So if it is true that we are weaponizing, if it is true that we want to coerce governors to come into our party, how come party members are resisting even people coming into the party?
What of the case of
Let me tell you what is happening. What is happening is that, one, the opposition is so weak, disjointed, so that nobody wants to stay, for instance, in the PDP, nobody wants to stay in the PDP because they don't know, they are not sure which of the factions the INEC will recognize. So nobody wants to take a chance. If they are still fighting. This faction is fighting this one is fighting this one. So which one? This court says no convention. These people have read the convention. Everybody is afraid. Politicians are calculating. Everybody is calculating. That's one of the problems. But beyond that, there is a truth. The truth is that the president has taken bold and courageous decisions. There is economic transformation that has taken place in this country. Yes, there is a lot of hardship. The people of this country face a lot of hardship in their day-to-day lives. Cost of living, but in the microeconomy, plenty of progress has taken place. And anyone who understands anything about microeconomy says, look, we have almost turned the corner. Those people can feel it. What remains is for the ordinary Nigerian to touch it. And very soon we'll begin to touch it. Rice is coming down. Cost of food is coming down. A number of things Nigerians will begin to see and touch. Those who know something can see. But we need to touch. Right, so Nigerians will soon touch. No, let me finish this. Okay. So that's one reason. Okay. Two, there is so much money with the subnationals.
So much money
with the subnationals.
In this case, the states.
Yes. The federal government has released money, plenty of money.
What is the impact?
No, wait now. No, wait now. To the state governments. Because of that, you don't hear about state governments unable to pay salaries again. I mean, when things happen, we don't just celebrate little things because of the bad leadership that we have had over time. And because of the distrust that exists between the people and their rulers or leaders. So nobody is complaining anymore about salary. They've not paid their salaries. Salaries have been paid. Governors are awarding contracts left, right, and center. You think the money came from heaven? You know, so the governors are happy with this president. So a number of governors don't want this situation to change. Do you understand? Where they will go back to Egypt and not have enough money. So this one that they can see that is giving money to the subnationals for development, let's work with him. That's key. All right, that's one of the reasons the governors are coming. And you cannot say that if they say they want to come, don't come.
Your point is well made, Dr. Kennedy, but let's look at it this way. Let me do a bit to biblical allusion. They say the hand is the hand of Saul, the voice is the voice of Jacob. You keep saying, you say sincerely, you know what's a battle system.
Sure.
The president has also come out to say this, saying that he will not be the one to help opposition arrange his house. But
that will not be politics.
Can we not say that the hand of the APC is in the destabilization of the opposition? For instance, in Osrc State, Adeleke could not, according to you, go into APC. He opted for the Accord Party.
Yeah.
Just this morning we also read that there's now another faction in the Accord Party. Yeah. Who is factionalizing the opposition parties?
Except you want me to write a fiction. I don't know how to do so. Look.
The hand of your party is not in it.
No. This is game. Let them also put their hand in our party.
Okay, it's a game.
It's game now. If they play, I am telling you, it's not so. You say it is so.
Your party is not playing the game.
No, what's our own?
Of factionalizing the opposition.
No. We don't need it. I've explained to you the fundamental reasons. Okay, you talk about Fubara. Fubara probably wants to run. There are two factions in PDP. Who will sign his form? If A signs his form, he knows that if he becomes candidate under Section A, there will be another candidate under Section B. He doesn't want to go into that one. There is a weakest faction. If the weakest faction sponsors him, there is the other faction by Turaki. Then the Turaki faction will sponsor another one. There will be two candidates in Rivers. You think he cannot see? He can see. So if he now says, this is dangerous, let me run away. Why do you say it is us? And he says he wants to run to us. Why not? Politics is numbers. We don't drive people. In fact, it's their right to decide which party they want to go to.
Okay, Dr. Kennedy, looking forward now, how do we push political political parties and the ideologies, to actually reflect principles of democracy beyond the political platform for contesting and winning elections. Because for an average Nigerian politician, a political party is just a platform to contest and win elections.
Sure.
So even if we have to go to the constitution and make some amendments, how can we go about that?
The political parties, sincerely speaking, submitted manifestos. They have a constitution, they have the manifestos, they say they have an ideology. But if you ask me practically, I don't think that there is any Nigerian politicians are driven or guided by ideology. And I will agree with you completely that it's about using the political party as a platform for achieving personal political aspirations. That's where we are. We are a progressive party, and what we claim, the only thing that I can tell is that maybe what we mean is that all our actions and inactions in government will be people-centered. Will be centered around the people. The people will be the reason for every action, or the best interest of the people, the happiness of the people will be the determining factor or consideration in our actions and inactions. Otherwise, I don't think we have deep ideological parties. I don't believe so.
Because of our time, two issues quickly.
Yeah.
Number one, I like to know that I come to know from again. Recently, there was something that came up in those states. The council, the Elders Council, was inaugurated. It's called Party Advisory Council, and you were a member of that.
I'm the secretary.
Yeah, the secretary of that.
Chief Akinyeru is the
council.
chairman.
The chairman. I understand that you held that you were not going to do. Since then, not much has been heard. Is it that you're no longer functioning, or you still?
There is a misconception about the advisory council. The advisory council was created in 2020. A lot of people don't understand the poor sense of political history. It was created in 2020 when leaders of the APC in the Southwest, led by the President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Chief B.C. Akande, Chief Segun Oshoma, came to Ondo State and said that we needed to bond together. And this was because following the 2020 primaries that late Governor Keredolu won, there was disaffection and division. Everybody fought, was fighting him. So they came and said that they called him as governor. They called Agbola Ajayi as deputy governor. Called Chief Oki, called everyone that ran, called leaders that they thought were critical stakeholders, and said, let us have a party advisory council that you can work with as governor, and then you can discuss party matters with. And that was how it got started in 2020. And we had series of meetings, with Governor Keredolu. What you had, the one that people are talking about, was just the first one we had with Governor Ayedatiwa as governor. So it's not a new creation. It's been a 2020 creation. And two, it is an advisory council. It's not our job to take over the work of the party in the states, because there's also a party working committee and a party state executive. It's also not our job to take over the role of the governor as leader of the party. Our job is advisory. Come, governor, do this. Governor, consider this. Governor would think if you do this, it will be good for our party. Chairman of party, do this. It's just available for the governor to consult with and enrich governance, and for the party to enrich party administration. No more, no less.
Okay, so Honorable, I want us to talk about the quarterly APC stakeholders meeting in Ondo State. And I believe the idea is to promote unity among party members. So how working is it?
We would need to do more. And like I said at the meeting, it's a very fantastic idea. I saw many faces. One, it provides the governor the opportunity to acquaint party members with the activities of government. I mean, to report government progress to party leaders. It also affords party leaders to ask questions, and then also a forum for interaction between government and the party and party members. So it's a great idea, and I must commend Governor Ayedatiwa for doing so. But like I said at that meeting, Uh, some of the faces that we need to see at those meetings are not there. It's not just enough for governor to give a brief. We must have brief from the ministers who are representing the states at the Federal Executive Council. BTO needs to come. Youth Minister needs to come. We also need the senators to come and tell us what is happening at the National Assembly in Nigeria. So the 3 senators need to come. The members of the House of Representatives, and there are quite a number of people holding very key appointments in President Tinubu's government that are from this state. So we need to call them and say, look, be a part of this. So what I think is that it's great that Governor Aiyedatiwa is very religious about this since he became governor. But there are many more faces that needs to be at those meetings.
Signaling that there's still much to be done.
And I have said so. What I have said is that those organizing the meeting, the governor is very busy. He cannot be doing everything. Those organizing the meeting must liaise with the party, liaise with some of us, and we fix a day to give time for people to arrange their schedule so that they can come and attend. We need a bigger house.
All right, our time is up. In 60 seconds, Dr. Gimeke, why does it look like the APC is stylishly stripping Iyola Omishore of all influence and powers after helping the APC win the governorship election in Osun State for Oyetola back then?
1, God is the giver of power. God is the giver of position. God is the giver of authority. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. That is life, and that is politics. Sometimes you're there, sometimes you're not there. There was a time I was there almost on a weekly basis in this station. There was also a time that I never came here again. Nobody wanted to hear my voice. Things change, and you must be willing. You must be willing to accept what comes your way that you have no power to change. Iyola was deputy governor at a very young age. Iyola has been doing very well. He was national secretary of the party. Like you said, he helped Oyetola to win. God gave all those influences. And if God says, look, for now, it is for now. So it's not about APC time, it's a matter of God. It's a matter of chance and time happening to all things. Nobody is going to be anywhere forever. You can't be at the top forever. And I don't believe anyone will be at the bottom forever. So sometimes it is Omishore is not going to say what I say. Omishore is in our party. He's a former national secretary of a party. He's a leader of a party. He's one of the leaders of the party in Osun. And I can assure you, he's working with Mr. President, former Governor Oyetola, and all our leaders in Osun to make sure that we take Osun from
so much we really need to talk about, but then time is not on our side. I do hope that very soon we'll have another time to still expand this conversation.
That is if you pay me. I said that I will only come if I'm paid.
Thank you very much, Honorable Dr. Isaac Gimeke. He's been at the forefront of many things in Ondo State, and now the National Vice Chairman of the All Progressives Congress APC Southwest. Thank you so much for coming.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
So delighted.
I've also missed you.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a break now. When we return, we'll continue the conversation on another level. Stay with us.
welcome, sir.
Let's start this way. The issue of housing deficit keeps being a recurring fact. Lands everywhere, a few houses. In fact, you'll find some very vast areas, yet the issue of housing deficit is generally in the face. And policies now the National Housing Fund, how effective it is.
Thank you very much. Looking at the issue of the housing deficit in Nigeria is a serious matter of concern because the level of housing in Nigeria is nothing to write home about. Even with the coming of the National Housing Fund, what a fantastic idea, very lofty one, but in implementation, how far have we gone in this? So the issue of the implementation of the National Housing Fund is also another concern.
So
And,
before we move, I would like you to explain clear objective of establishing the national housing fund. What are the clear objectives? And from there we move on to what extent are these objectives achieved so far?
Thank you very much. Clearly spelled out in the National Housing Fund Act, there are 6 aims and objectives of this fund. But to us as workers, we are particular about the first 2. The first 2 has to do with the facilitation of the fund in the provision of housing for Nigerians at affordable prices. We all know that the cost of building houses today is such a very demanding one. So with the introduction of a fund like the National Housing Fund Act, one would think that the problem of housing will be reduced to the barest minimum, because one of the aims and objectives is to provide housing for Nigerians at affordable prices. But to what extent have we been able to achieve this? That is the concern. 2, to also ensure constant supply of loans to Nigeria for the purpose of building, or if you like, purchasing, or if you like, improving on our residential houses. These 2 aims and objectives, they are so lofty, it could have made life much easier for Nigerians and for Nigerian workers in particular. So the other objectives has to do with the corporate bodies, the Nigerian the insurance companies, the bank, and this and that. But the major concern to us as workers are the first 2. That is making house available for Nigerian workers, Nigerian people at affordable prices, to also facilitate loans for the purchase, building, or innovation of existing houses. But these 2 objectives, the government has not fared well.
What do you think is responsible for the failure of those objectives?
It could be multi-dimensional. It could be administrative problems. It could be official bottlenecks. It could also be a question of corruption.
What have you found?
What I have found out is not actually, there is no clear-cut findings in this regard. For instance, in my establishment, the Federal University of Technology, Akure, we were formally introduced to this fund in 2020 when IPPI took over the control of our salary payments. From February 2020, we started deducting, in accordance with the National Housing Fund Act, 2.5% of our basic monthly salary. We started deducting it into this fund. And when we look at the act, we look at what are supposed to be our benefits. We didn't see it. We had to go into inquiries. What are the issues? What are the issues? What we found out was this blame game between the office of the IPPIs, that is the integrated personnel payroll information system. And the Federal Mortgage Bank branch in Akure here, there was this blame sheet that, oh, IBPIs after deducting, they didn't remit. We went to IBPIs to find out why didn't you remit what you deducted from our salaries. They said they had remitted. And the blame sheet, the blame game continued till date. So to actually pin it down that this is what is responsible, as long as it is the institutions of government that are involved, more investigation will have to be carried out to actually determine the factors that are responsible for this failure.
Before we continue going about who is responsible, I want to know the clarity of categories of workers that can actually contribute to reform and as well benefit. So who are the categories of workers that are captured within the tax net?
Thank you.
And what is the tax structure like?
The categories of workers who are entitled by law to contribute into this fund. Anybody that is receiving the minimum, the national minimum wage, the national minimum wage, whoever is being paid that national minimum wage is eligible under this law. So, all our members of staff, in my establishment, for example, the Federal University of Technology, Akure, everybody is eligible, and we have been contributing since that 2020 to this fund. The benefit of it now is what has been the Herculean task all this while.
All right. Now, this contribution sometimes also gives us many participants that badge. Now, what exactly is benefit of it, especially when you see issues of job registration, for instance, you fill out form now, later you fill out form again, the same form is fulfilled. Is this a case of internal bureaucratic problems or what?
But actually, in our establishment, we didn't witness that. The moment the fund was introduced to us in 2020 with the coming of IPPIs, it was automatic that when salaries are paid, they give us the list of deductions, statutory deductions, union deductions, tax deductions, and pension contribution, all this, and the national housing fund deductions. So we didn't have problem about the duplicity of forms here and there. It was just automatic like that.
Okay, the National Housing Fund is a product of the Legislative Act of 1992,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
To that extent, it means the National Assembly, they have that oversight function to do some kind of check and balances. So where are we on that? What is the role of the National Assembly, and in what way they have intervened in the place of so many deficiencies?
Thank you. The role of the National Assembly in this matter, I think their role essentially was to enact that law.
Okay.
And once it was enacted, it received the assent of Mr. President, and it became an act. And with that, it is the institution of state, the institution of government that are supposed to do the needful on their own part. But somewhere, somehow, somebody is not doing what he's supposed to do. That was what accounted for the blame game I narrated earlier between the office of the IPPIs and the Federal Mortgage Bank in Akure branch here. A lot of the provisions of this act are not adhered to by the implementers of this program. I am particularly interested in 4 sections of this act, and good enough you started with the first aspect, that is the aims and the objectives. The aims of the objectives and the objectives, they are so lofty, they are good by the intention, but the problem is the implementation. Section 4 of that act talks about the contribution by Nigerian workers, and that is where I got the idea that 2.5% of my basic monthly salary should be contributed to that fund. And like I said, all the workers in our establishment, we have been doing this since 2020. And another section that I have interest in is section 17 of that act, which talks about refund of refund to a contributor after retirement. This is the greatest headache I'm having now as a union leader. All our members who have retired after that 2020 till date, in the neighborhood of 200 staff, none of them have been able to claim this refund. And the problem is this game, blame game between the office of the IPPIs and the bank. Today they will say they have not remitted this so and so. We as union leaders, yes, we have also. Thank you. We have, like I said, we have also related with the office of the IPPS in Abuja. It's another story entirely, different from what the office of the Federal Mortgage Bank in Akure, what they are telling us. The different story is that our Akure branch of the Federal Mortgage Bank, they are telling us that IPPS has not remitted fully the contribution of our members. On getting back to IPPS office, they are telling us that they have they have released the money deducted. In fact, early this year, when the matter was not resolved, I had to visit them again. They now told me that, oh, they have set up a committee of the office of the IPPIs and their national headquarters of the Federal Mortgage Bank to reconcile these issues. But to date, we have not had the outcome of that. Our members who retired, they are just fed up. This matter has been reported to the national leadership of our union in Abuja, because the same thing affects all our members across. It is this blame game that they are telling our members. And if you have contributed and the refund is subject to the fact that you have not assessed the loan that the bank is supposed to give you, if you have not assessed any loan, you are entitled to your contribution. But none of our members in the last 4 or 5 years who have retired.
This is high time you take the case to the National Assembly since it's a creation of law, backed by the Legislative Act. Now, if we are having issue with bureaucratic delay from the executive and the administrative deficiencies, how should the National Assembly function?
I think bringing in the National Assembly to this, that will lead me to another area of interest to me personally in this National Housing Fund. Section 20 of it makes provision for, it has envisaged that some people will have to preach. Yes. And there is provision for offenses and penalties for defaulters as provided for in Section 20 of that Act. If, by whatever means, an employer fails to deduct the 2.5% as prescribed by law, it's an offense. If anybody, a worker, deliberately make sure that his money is not deducted, it's another offense. So, if the money deducted is not remitted, it's another offense. But this is going to be the next stage in this matter, because you cannot just hold on to people's money indefinitely. Some of the people that retired with their money in the Federal Mortgage Bank, some of them have died in the course of these years. Even if the money is going to be, it's going to be to their beneficiaries, but the person who contributed the money has left. This is so painful. So the law is there, but somebody will have to activate it and bring somebody to book. Whoever is found guilty, it is. I think that is the matter that is still being currently considered.
I don't know, probably you've been following. In the past, we have quite a number of investigative and public hearings concerning this issue of National Housing Fund. So, what are the outcomes? And what gives us a guarantee that even if that part is true this time around, we definitely get the right result?
It's still a Nigerian factor, and it's very unfortunate. When we start a process, we should see to the logical conclusion of that. If anybody is found guilty should be brought to book. He should be made to do what is needful. Whoever is either deliberately or by reason of ignorance is found culpable in any act that has negatively impacted the life of Nigerians, people should be made to answer for whatever misdeed.
Okay, in your view now, maybe you have loopholes as a result of the act. What are probably can suggest any corrective amendment that can correct some of these loopholes, especially coming from the administrative part and the
Well,
maybe from your research now, how can we correct some of these loopholes? Even if we have to go and make amendment in the National Assembly.
the amendment from the National Assembly, personally, I don't see it as a necessary thing to do. Because the law is already there. All the provisions to take care of everybody, if it's going to be run without any prejudice,
No error whatsoever.
I have not discovered any loophole as it were. But people have just failed to do what is right.
All right, so before conclusion of this
Well, like I said, everything, the human challenge to every issue in life, they are there. But there is no situation that there is no provision to checkmate human being naturally if left unchecked. The tendency to be excessive in everything they do is there. The tendency to be not to follow due process, not to follow the laid down procedures is there for everybody. But when people violate this, a serious government should make sure that people answer for whatever infraction they have committed against the established norm or whatever has been seen that we went through stages before the National Assembly could say, okay, we have brought this thing, and it was transmitted to Mr. President. Mr. President will have taken a lot of time, a lot of consultation here and there before he assented to this bill and it became an act of parliament. So if go through all those processes, whoever has, you have not come out to condemn the process, you have not come to reject it, we said this is the law, then you are not following it, then somebody must be made to answer for whatever is done.
All right, we do that. Thank you very much. Thanks so much for your time.
Nice having you. Thank you.
We'll take another break. We'll return and continue.
Michael Adekunle Ajashin, born November 28, 1908, was a distinguished Nigerian educator, politician, and statesman renowned for his integrity, commitment to democracy, and transformative impact on education in Nigeria. Born in Owo, present-day Ondo State, Ajashi began his education at St. Andrew's College, Oyo, from 1924 to 1927, where he trained as a teacher. He furthered his studies at Paura Bay College in Sierra Leone, earning a Bachelor of Arts degree in Modern History and Economics in 1946. He then obtained a postgraduate diploma in education from the University of London in 1947. Ajashi's career in education commenced with his appointment as principal of Imadi College in Owo in 1947. He was instrumental in staff development, encouraging teachers to pursue further training at institutions like University College Ibadan. In 1963, he founded our high school, serving as the first principal until his retirement.
Thank you very much, everyone, for sitting with us on AM today. Now our attention shifts to looking at another area of conversation, which has to do with development through partnerships, and our focus will be on those states. And so, developing on those through effective collaborations will be our focus at this point. Joining us in the conversation is the Pioneer Vice Chairman of Ondo State Investment Promotion Agency, Honorable Oyewumi, is a politician and investment expert. Good morning. He joins us via the telephone. Thank you so much for joining us on AM today.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. It's very kind of you.
All right, let's start this way. You were the Pioneer Vice Chairman of Ondo State Investment Promotion Agency, ONDIPA. Since you left office, I'm sure you must have also been looking at what goes on, especially in that agency. What's your assessment of the partnerships Ondo State has entered into of recent?
I think that's a very good question. The partnerships, to start with, government is continued. So what has happened now is that has continued, where the private sector and private and public sector partnership is very key to developing the state. Investors to come in and with proposals and stuff like that, and you evaluate, and you just have to allow them to prove themselves. That's the only way you can actually move forward.
Oh, okay, if you were still in ONDIPA, do you think you would have advised government to enter the $50 billion investment, that's the refinery, free trade zone investment Ondo State has entered into recently? Would you have to advise government to go ahead with that? Do you think it's a viable investment?
You see, it's not about the volume of money, it's about the quality of the investment. Because if they said $50 billion, it wasn't going to be, they were not saying $50 billion in one night. It may be a 10, 20-year roadmap. Because there are many things that are not in the public domain. So such assumptions are not actually right. Because I give you an example. I remember when I was in special advisor and the MD of ONDIPA, and an investor came and said he wants to do oil palm on the Osrc corridor. I don't want to mention his name. On paper, it didn't look, but when we look at it today, is the largest oil palm investor in the country. That is Nigeria. That is local. So people have to prove their worth. It's not so much paper qualification. It's the intensity of the investor. If they've already secured funding, but it's over how a period of time is what matters. Because if you say you have $50 million, 50 billion for a 10-year program, yes, that's doable. It is possible. At the end of the day, what does the state got to lose if you don't perform? We cancel the MOU. I mean, doing nothing is definitely not an option. And you understand that at the end of the day, we must get away from the hysteria and look at the facts.
Honorable Oye, I would like to ask you, you are an expert in this field, and what, in your view, what policy framework do you think we should put in place to actually attract credit, both local and foreign investors, given the fact that we just give it on that part of organization? What policy framework should we do?
Well, there's already an agency of government which is on the power, which has the pioneer MD and vice chairman, that looks at all of this, so people don't just come and go and take photographs with the governor. The internal due diligence will have been done. There's a structure that ensures that happens. And from my experience while I was in government, most of the investors performed creditably well. That's from my experience that they compare creditably well. So there's already a structure where you look at that, you do due diligence. See, there's something people are confusing. An investor maybe wants 10 naira, but when you are coming to a particular place, there are certain stakeholders who are involved in that transaction. You have to go and set up another SPV, Special Purpose Vehicle, to capture their interest. Now that SPV is set up specifically for that particular project. You set it up at the time when that project is about to take off. If you go and do due diligence on that company, it will show that it was set up shortly before the MOU was signed. Because don't forget that you are not setting up, you are not looking at the parent company. I don't know if you understand.
Very well.
Yes. So any on the surface journalism done. This company, when was it set up? Was set up yesterday? Yes. What's wrong with setting up yesterday? Because if you're coming to Nigeria for the first time, you have certain stakeholders who are hand-holding you. You have to cover their interest, take their interest into consideration. You're not going to lump them into your legacy company that you have been running for years that has assets. You only confine them to what is in front of you. I don't know if you understand. It's just like, okay, let me give you an explanation. The Port of Ondo, the deep sea port. We have a company called Port of Ondo Limited, something like that. I can't remember the specific name, which is what was recently corrected. Now, if you go and research Port of Ondo, it will show you that the company has not traded. Yet, that is the same company that the federal government has just invalidated. Because it's just set up specifically for that project. It doesn't have a trading industry until you breathe life into it. It's just a paper company.
Well,
so
Honorable Ewumi,
you can say, there can be an headline say, the federal government has approved on the deep sea port or invalidated it to a chef company. Do you see my perspective?
very well. But I also feel we need more to be explained on this issue of the Port of Ondo. Just recently, I think a few days ago, the governor came up to say, look, the president has revalidated and reapproved that this project must go on. Many feel that this is political gimmicks. But, investment is business. So as an investment expert, I want to know, what exactly do you think is going on with this issue of the Port of Ondo?
Well, I'm very glad you asked that question because I was involved in not singularly, but with a team with government support, so other stakeholders. So when I say involved, it was nothing about just me and sons. Now, to do import projects, right? You have the perimeter survey, you have the topography, you have a lot of studies. Some of those studies are dry season, wet season, dry season, wet licenses. Each one, you take the report and submit to MP. MP would then say, okay, yes, this report is sound. Go ahead to the next one. So they're not done concurrently. They're not done at the same time. Once you finish one, you go to the next one. Now, if you look at the state of Ondo State, in the situation of Ondo State, people will also be clapping for this last government and this government, because we are, as a state, are the ones who have gotten the license in the shortest possible time. Let's go and investigate this. And the cheapest cost to get to this point. What happened the last time is that by law, we're supposed to set up Port of Ondo Development Company, which we did. Right? Don't forget that we are the ones asking for the license. That is something to do with NPA and the Ministry of Transport as it was then. We did everything that was supposed to do. So statutorily, when you issue a license in the name of the special purpose vehicle.
That's a company setup.
Yes, as instructed by NPA for reasons which is human error. That's all that it is. There's nothing to it. It was issued in the name of the main investor. There are many other investors, who are local and foreign, but there's a major Chinese investor. Now, you cannot be sure that was issued in error. Yes, there was a bit of work passing, once the mistake came up, nobody wanted to own it. You understand? Because it just, but then we're also trying to get this license in the twilight of the last government, of the Buhari government. So that's a bit of rush. Yeah. So that was what happened. So what the present government has done, in the project, is to get it revalidated, because you can't have 5 or 6 investors and you didn't in them of one investor. What happened to the other investors? So which is this issue of special purpose vehicle. So if you have a special purpose vehicle that has been registered, but it was not onboarded into the license, that's the problem. Now, these things have to go to the Federal Executive Council. So for that is just like the local ESCO. You don't just put your documents there. You have to go back again, position yourself, and get another investor. If that's the case, so that they come together, but everybody is in this special purpose vehicle. You and I cannot apply for a business, right, for a license, and they put money in, and I expect you to be part of it. How's that going to work? That means you're already subsumed under me. That is all that happened.
Does this latest development now put to bed the impediments to the actualization of Ondo DUC?
Yes, and this process, right, it's, you must give kudos to the present administration and people in the agency on the ground. The speed at which things are happening for Ondo State is just from people who are on the outside, who don't understand the multi-agency links within this. There's NPA, there's Ministry of the Blue Economy, there's the ICRC. All of these people cannot be stampeded. They have to do their own due diligence and start that last leg of it again, which is what they've done. Now, licenses are the priority for the federal government. So in this presidential approval, there's nothing possible about it at all. Because all these studies and the law we have is that the government was able to push for validation before those studies expire.
How should local government now carry along the local government and community leaders in attracting partnership at grassroots level? How can we bring them
There's an industrial park, the free zone attached to that zone, to where the port is. See, the beauty of a port the most important investment you can have in your state, honestly, is to have a port. If you are a coastal state, let me give you an example. When you look at the ports in Lagos, there are 2 of them, Apapa and Tinkan. If you look at from Apapa, you get to Marina. From Marina, you get to Southwest Ikoyi. You get from Ikoyi, you get to VI, you get to Banana, you get to Parkview, you get to Lekki. What am I saying? What I'm saying is that within a large tribe and even beyond, everybody who has land, I'm sorry, but I'm happy to say, their words has gone out of the roof. Land that was either near waters would all of a sudden have value. Now, once your land has value, you have collateral to if you can trade it. I don't know if you understand the
Very well,
question.
very well.
That's another. So the network of everybody who has anything. What is Lagos without the ports? Please just look at it that way. What are the resources here? So when you have a port, and you don't forget that we have a draft that is not rivaled anyway. When you have a port like that, all the land around and beyond of Tuakuri and beyond, they start to get values that are either to unimaginable because industries would show up.
All right.
So let me give you another quick one. If a ship comes in with 5,000 cars, right, which is nothing, you are not going to use less than almost 1,000 drivers to offload them. Because there can be 5 drivers offloading a ship that has brought a lot of passengers. So there are employment opportunities there. Hotels, a lot of things will happen. Banks will be rushing to set up because taxes will be collected, the place will boom. That is why the government is hell-bent on making sure that our deep seaport takes off in record time.
All right, we do hope that this happens, of course, in record time. Now, there's also this problem of abandoned projects in investment landscape. I'd like to know what factors have been responsible for abandoning investments. Let me give you a quick example. The powder deck factory is supposed to, by now, be functional, in those states. It looks like that is not happening yet. What's always responsible for abandonment of investments across the country?
Well, I can't speak for the country.
Speak for those states.
Where I superintended. The egg powder is not abandoned. The infrastructure there is 70% complete. The equipment, I think this is only one dryer that is unexpected. Yeah. Now, that is public-private partnership project. So when something is public-private partnership and it hasn't taken off, it is not fair to blame that on the government. Now, so that's number one. Number two,
It is not fair to blame that on government.
yes, fortunately, I'm the chairman of that company. Right now, the investor has been doing as much as possible. But there are times even the biggest investor may have a slight liquidity crisis. But that's not even the issue here. When that project started, it got delayed for many years by COVID, if you remember. Nothing could happen. Then we have the issues of forex fluctuation. So a project that was started at 500 is now 1,000 plus. And the state and the investors have put in money to get to the point that where you have about 90% of the equipment, the government are in the state, and 70% of the building has been completed. Just recently, the governor called a meeting with the stakeholders, that is the investors and the people representing the state, to move things forward. So at times they need to move slowly because this is a multi-billion naira investment. We're not trying to build a classroom here. That project cannot be abandoned. The government is very, very focused on it, but the processes must continue. They're presently looking into it, and I'm sure in record time something will happen. Because I attended that meeting, and it's not the first meeting that has been held. Phone calls do go on. The ministry is already, the government is already looking into it. The investors were also talking to them to make sure that everything works according to plan. Because when you have 90% of the equipment in the states, we're almost there. But the industry is still to milk. That Aliko Dangote is finally. How long will it take? I know it's not the same scale, but it's only when you're in the business of setting up the industry, you cannot look at it as if you're building a 5-bedroom house. And when you are building a 5-bedroom house, right? How long does it take?
Okay, what incentive do you think the state government roll out in the matter of investment?
On those states, one of the things that the states did was to open up the states to their corridor. That's very important because when investors see the magnets on Shagamu or Railroad, nothing in their life will have prepared them for that kind of chaos. So what government did then and is still doing now is to make sure that investors come into the air corridor so that they don't see our dirty backside. Yeah. Now, the state is not responsible for that nonsense that goes on there because those are not state agencies, that's not a state road. Let's be clear about that. But that is Nigeria of today. Yeah. Hopefully that will change with Costa Road and things they will drive smoothly because you must give the right impression at the first visit. And that's what government is, the governmental incentive that is already there. That's why you have an agency that is solely responsible so that investors are not going from Ministry of this Environment to Ministry of Commerce to this and that and get bogged down in the bureaucracy of government. So that one-stop shop has taken care of that. It's just that the look and feel of the state is also very important. If they come in and your place is rowdy, do you understand? Because don't forget that they have to make a decision that am I able to come back here and invest and will I be comfortable and safe here every time I come? Those little things matter because these are foreign investors. Even if they are local investors, their safety matters. You understand it? So that look and feel, if you look at the projects going on in the state, the look and feel is changing. The state is having a softer look. So do you understand? Everything is looking tidy. That is what you use to attract investors. The most feel comfortable. Once they land, they say, is an innate feeling, I'm comfortable here. You understand? The current federal government has probably has status, federal government allows you to repatriate all your profit. All of those policies are already in place. It's just how to be Cinderella. Because when you are looking at investment, don't look at it that you are trying to compete against Ekiti or no. Look at it that you are competing against Ghana. That's how you upscale yourself so that you are attractive. But we fortunately are very attractive. We are worth with minerals. But more importantly, we have the human capital that would push an industry to the next level. So we don't need to import labor into all those things. We are well educated state. It's just to get the industries to come. And they are already coming. A lot of investors also window shop. The truth with you, the window shop, like you go to a car park to see which car you want to buy. But when they are window shopping, you want to make sure that they stay in your own state. Because as they are going to Lagos, they are going to Ondo.
All right. Before we close up in this conversation, of course, we discussed a lot about investment. Let's talk politics very briefly before I let you go. Just a view that I read just recently. Boyo Yogumi is more of an investment person. He has no business in politics. Do you think that's correct?
Well, when you say business in politics, if you say he has no business in a full-time position, I agree. Because I have to start with, integrity is my currency. I am not one of those who have nothing else to do and is just looking for one political appointment for the other for sustenance. That's number one. Number two, for somebody who is in the government, who has brought in, the last time I was in government, and this is documented, there were over 33,500 new jobs that was created through the initiatives of these states, and that is still continuing. That is already past the civil service staff strike of the civil service. Now, if you continue along that trajectory, you find that in a couple of years, we'll stop being a civil service state. Now, when you have somebody who has what it takes, then three things you need in areas like this. You need context, you need capacity, and you need a container, that means you must meet a jet. That's what you need to represent the states. In Abuja, I feel that I have the qualities to do that. It's not even a feeling of I have the qualities. I've carried a political bag long enough to know how government works. And I'm also not a statement of effort, I'm a statement of results. That is why I can talk about what I have done, not what I'm going to do. Because it's not a training school. When you get to the Senate, you have 1 or 2 minutes to express yourself. My God, if you don't have content, you have wasted 4 years of all those state service. It's as simple as that.
All right, so in a nutshell, you have business in politics, but you are not a full-time politician. That's what you're trying to say.
No, what I'm saying is that I don't leave politics from Monday to Sunday.
No, okay.
No, because it's leaders that should be in positions, not people who thrive on feeding off the system.
All right. Thank you very much. We wish you the very best in your investment drives and also in your politicking. Honorable Boyoyewumi is a politician and, of course, an investment expert, and he's been speaking with us about the telephone on efforts at ensuring development through partnerships that work. Once again, thank you very much, Honorable Boyoyewumi.
Thank you for the privilege to speak to you this morning.
Everyone, it's been an interesting moment. Of course, an engaging engagement it is. In the last 2 hours or thereabouts, from one issue to another, looking at how society could be a better place. We thank you for being a part of it. From my colleague, Alex.
Thank you everyone for being a part of the show. That is the size of the show this morning. It was really, really honest and exciting. Alex, I did
And I'm Sunday Kolawole. Please enjoy the rest of the day. Good morning.